Shout out to the Australian crowd. Relentless, right?
It's been a while since we've seen so much representation from the Aussies at the Australian Open. Of course, Barty being the icing on the cake.
Highlight of this one is me realizing that Ash Barty is younger than me. At some point, her age got mentioned, and I'm like, what?
Why this disparity, man? Why?
And there have been French Open champions who have seemed to
You
fizzle
change to
out.
something, what?
Gui, your voice just modulated into like Thor or something.
Yeah, dude.
He called his co-finalist a donut.
And a knob.
And a knob.
Shots fired. Shots fired. Rafael Nadal. It's time now. I think it's time. Hey everyone, welcome back to an all-new episode of All About Sports, the podcast, a sports podcast weekly for the fans, by the fans. Joining me today are a couple of my co-hosts, Shubham Malu
Hey guys.
and Aniket Gui.
What up, boys?
And I'm Mazhar Gadiwala. And just before we get into this week's episode, just a quick reminder of what we discussed last week. Last week, we ended up discussing domestic abuse in sports and some of the incidents in recent times with athletes and whether idolization of sports persons should still be done, or is there a way to probably figure out a way around this and move ahead. This week, we'll be discussing the recently finished Australian Open. Firstly, Rafael Nadal, obviously everyone knows this, winning a record 21st Grand Slam, finally broke that deadlock between Federer, him and Djokovic. Of course, lots of controversy around Djokovic. You can check out that. We've already discussed that a few episodes back. So you can find that in our playlist as well. But this time, let's just go through and let's take in what was obviously dramatic, started off being dramatic before it with the Djokovic incident. Of course, Murray came in and played, had a terrible time, was quite frustrated, frankly, not only with his performance, but a lot of the other things going on. Nick Kyrgios never fails to amaze us and entertain us. And obviously, Ashley Barty, being Australian, winning the Australian Open, happening after 44 years since the last time it happened. I think it was 1978 when it happened last. So, Gui, I'm going to go to you first. What was your highlight of the Australian Open? And who do you want to give a shout out to?
Shout out to, the Australian crowd. Relentless, right? Like, on one end, they're fueling on Kyrgios and Kokkinakis with the same word. They're frustrating Andy Murray and some other players, like even Medvedev for that matter. Like, it is truly the Grand Slam for the people. This is where you seem to have the most fun in terms of how supportive the crowd is. Like, they don't really jeer at you like they do at the US Open, right? There's no even when they are supporting their country, men and women, but they're not really putting the other person down. US Open, you hear a lot of boos. You don't really hear them going around at the Australian Open. So huge shout out to the crowd because they really make it a splendid watch for those of us back at home. And highlight of this one is me realizing that Ash Barty is younger than me. Like, I don't know, at some point her age got mentioned and I'm like, what? All these achievers are younger than me?
So fun fact, Gui, fun fact about that. Even I was shocked when I saw Ash Barty is just 25 because she started playing when she was 15 and she was not in the limelight because she was Aussie. She was in the limelight because she made 3 finals in the doubles Grand Slams. I think she made the final at Wimbledon, the Australian Open and the French Open, if I'm not wrong. And then she ended up winning the US Open Grand Slam doubles title as well. So it's crazy when you talk about it. She started at 15. So she's actually been in the circuit for
There's
so
that-
long,
there's
for
that
10 years.
There's that picture of her going around which seems like it's from the 80s. I'm like, excuse me, you're not doing her justice. Like, how dare you say that? That's a picture of a childhood. Someone dialed back that photo a few years. So this, I was just amazed. And this, the point is that she's been in the limelight for the last 2 or 3 years, and in that similar span, there have been French Open champions who have seemed to
You
fizzle
change to
out.
something,
So
what?
Gui, your voice just modulated into like Thor or something.
Yeah, dude.
1 minute. Wait. Let me.
What, you're using some voice recognition, voice change software or something?
So my point is that there have been a few French Open champions who just won it once and then fizzled out in the same amount of time that she's come to the limelight and sustained, the being in the public side and having so much pressure of winning, considering she plays almost every Australian Open, and she's done so well for herself in terms of how many. Is this a third slam? Second? Third? I don't really
This
know.
is her third slam. Yes, this is her third slam.
I'm sorry, Ash, for not
She has.
to brush up on my.
She's just. I think she's just the US Open away from finishing the career slam. Then.
That's such a good thing. And she's 25, turning 26 this year, I think. It's absolutely brilliant. So, and of course, I think Rafa's going to get mentioned on the podcast a few more times. I'm going to avoid saying much. Just the fact that if none of the top three, okay, the golden era top three happen to be playing a slam, it is almost unbearable to watch, is what I'm going to say. Like, the men's game is so far back as compared to the standards they have, gotten us used to over the last 20-ish years, that is almost something I would avoid.
Yeah, we are spoiled when it comes to the men's circuit, witnessing these three goats. But now let's go to Shubham. Shubham, you love Kyrgios. You love his antics on the court. He's a funny guy. We've shared so many reels of his only on our podcast as well. I was shocked when I saw that he won the Grand Slam. Honestly, I thought that one day I want to see this guy winning a singles Grand Slam. But fair enough. He won the men's doubles. Thoroughly enjoyed watching every game of his, whether it was singles or doubles. The super Ks or special Ks as they are called. Sorry, it's the special Ks, Kokkinakis and Kyrgios. Has tennis ever seen a more dynamic and entertaining character?
So I think with Kyrgios now, firstly, do you guys know which round did he lose in the singles?
I think it was the quarters, if I'm not wrong, because he got knocked
Because
out.
of fourth round.
Yeah, pre-quarters or quarters. Yeah, one of the
Okay.
two.
Anyways,
he
in
lost.
terms of
He
singles,
lost to
I was-
Medvedev. He lost to Medvedev. So it was.
Oh, okay, if he lost to him, then okay, fine. But generally speaking, the singles, I thought he should have performed a little better. But if he lost to Medvedev, then, well, Medvedev was very, very good. But yeah, good for him that he won the doubles. But I tell you one thing about Kyrgios that I really like. And if you even sit and think about it, when this guy broke out on the scene.
Sorry, Shubham. It was in the second round itself, but he did lose.
Second
to
round,
Medvedev.
see, exactly.
Yeah, but it was Medvedev.
It was still Medvedev anyway. Okay. But so one thing that I like, if you guys remember when he broke out on the scene with the underarm serve, with his attitude and antics, he was very soon becoming the bad boy of tennis and getting that sort of publicity. But fast forward, and now people actually like him. They find him entertaining. Underarm serve has become a thing where actually people use it as strategy and tactics while serving. So I think he's definitely got a new element to the sport. He has his own set of fans, and in Australia he's really loved. I think there was also this time when the Australian fires broke out, and he held a charity event where he got all the big stars before the Australian Open to take part in it. So he has a fan base. He's really loved, and I think he's very good for tennis in general, because you need personalities. Like in any sport, you need personalities. You need people to bring about discussions amongst fans, and like how Gui mentioned, in terms of playing potential, after the top three, there's no one. So I need characters who can add some drama, bring in some entertainment, and I think Kyrgios is someone who has the ability to get a crowd going. Maybe not for his playing, but at least for the stuff that he does. So yeah, I really like the guy, man. I just wish he actually manages to win at least one singles grand. I'll be very happy.
1 minute.
Go ahead.
He called his co-finalist a donut.
And a knob.
And a knob. What a guy. Pure entertainment. I don't think he knows how to act otherwise than he does, which is what makes it endearing, right? At some level. Okay, I'm not going to say completely endearing, but the fact that he's just being himself, which is not something which is advisable when you're playing a sport, right? You need to act a certain way, especially when it comes to a game like tennis.
Shots fired.
I tell you what, with the way Djokovic has behaved now before the Australian Open with this entire drama, I really respect him a lot as a tennis player. That will always be the case. But certainly as a fan, I just feel like dude, yeah, come on, man, take it easy.
Well, that's for a different day and time. Honestly, the morality and all of that comes in. People also respect his decision to stick by by his beliefs. Gui is one of them as well. The only problem being that he tried to cheat his way into the tournament, which is what the issue was and the furor was against, right? Anyway, it's time to get to the positives. We've been having a lot of negative talks recently in this podcast. Time to move back to some of the positives. Australia can be supremely proud of the performance of their players. It's been a while since we've seen so much representation from the Aussies at the Australian Open. Of course, Barty being the icing on the cake, Kyrgios, Kokkinakis winning the doubles, but also the other finalists also being two Aussies against them. So nothing more to enjoy from an Australian fan point. I remember the days of Leighton Hewitt where there was always that hope, like, come on, Leighton's going to do it. But then who did he have? Federer, Roddick, then slowly Nadal coming up. So it was always going to be tough for him back then. So positives only. And yeah, like Gui said, they weren't booing people, but they were saying throughout. So Ronaldo transcends this globe clearly. I wish he could score more goals for the club also, but
that's also another topic, I guess. Another we need to be positive today.
So sorry, we really got into this. I forgot to highlight what happened just now before recording this episode. The IPL auctions just wrapped up. Ishan Kishan was the most expensive buy. He was rebought by Mumbai Indians, but for 15.25 crores. That is ridiculous amounts of money. I don't know the translation in pounds and dollars, so forgive me for that, but it's a lot of money. And imagine if he was more expensive than Pat Cummins. He was basically more than double the price of Pat Cummins, just to put that into context. So
how old is the guy?
I don't know. He's young. He's younger than us, like Gui said, but still.
So frustrating, man. So frustrating. What did we do wrong in our lives? Like, why?
We didn't
why
play cricket, Shubham. Yeah. That's what we did wrong in our lives.
Why this disparity, man? Why? Gui on mute.
Ishan Kishan is 23 years old. Just saying.
Man, that's painful. Yeah, that's just painful to hear. Yeah.
But anyway, moving on. Back to tennis, back to the Australian Open. Rafael Nadal. It's time now. I think it's time. 13 French Open titles. That itself is, like, when you think of it, people winning 13 Grand Slams is only out of, like, it's not even in people's dreams to win one Grand Slam for some. He won 13 French. He has 4 US Open titles. 2 Wimbledon.
Mazhar is just shocked with the amount of Grand Slams Nadal has won. He can't fathom it. He's struggling with calculating it.
By the time Mazhar manages to fix this, just saying 13 French Opens versus Pete Sampras's record, which stood for a very long time, of 14 Grand Slams in all. Just that, put that into context. Like, he's
I sorry, I don't know where I got cut off, but thanks, Gui. So yeah, like just putting that into perspective is ridiculous, right? When you think of it, to think of all he's been through. I remember a time when he started his career, right? Everyone said, "Oh, he's not going to last for very long." Everyone kept saying that he's going to, like, his game was based on physicality. Eventually, age will tell. His legs will give in. His knees will give way. Roll on 2022. This man stands at the pedestal.
In fact, one more fun fact: he's the only fourth tennis player. I think this is mainly only the men's circuit. Only tennis player, male tennis player to win every Grand Slam at least twice. That's unbelievable, dude. And there are very few people. There's this guy, Djokovic, and I don't know who the other two are, but it's not Federer because Federer's won only one French Open. But yeah, sick, man. What a guy.
What a guy, man. I was just looking at Rafa's record also. Like, he's legit, like, records wise, he is the GOAT. He's won the gold medal at the Olympics, which
That all of them have won.
most
All of them have won.
no, Federer just won it in doubles.
Oh, okay. No one singles.
Yeah, he's not won it in singles.
I think the only
He's a 5-time Davis Cup winner as well. It's it's crazy. The guy's won literally everything. The only thing he doesn't have is a doubles title.
Okay, if don't count the doubles, I think the one thing he doesn't, if I'm not mistaken, is the one which happens between the
ATP finals.
Yeah, the one that
yes,
one.
The ATP finals.
What is that? What is the competition called? Is it pronounced as the Laver Cup?
No.
Europe versus rest of the world. What is that thing?
That's the Laver Cup.
Laver Cup, right? So this year Laver Cup, Federer and Nadal are back as teammates.
Yes, that'll be fun.
Yeah.
But anyway, like, apart from all this, what I will also say is Ashley Barty's. Actually, we had this discussion, right, about how female tennis players have lacked consistency at the top level. Also, we were spoiled by the men's circuit. But I think I'm slowly seeing that consistency coming in terms of the names. You're seeing the familiar names now. Barty's been very consistent. She's practically won a Grand Slam every year right now. At least one of them. Just
for how many years?
That she won in 2019, then she won in 2021 and 2022. So 2020 was COVID anyway. So
what about these athletes? Where are they? Naomi, Osaka, Coco, are they still around?
So Osaka was there again, lost, didn't do well. So the names are there, but I'm saying that, like, Iga Swiatek, we thought she's also going to be like a one-time player after she won the French Open, but she's looked good, according to me. She looked good at the US Open. She looked good in the Australian Open as well. So I'm seeing slight consistency, and it's good. It's good. The women's game needs it because it's more of a spectacle. Yes, the final, Barty went up against a finalist who was a first-time finalist, but at least there was Barty. So I think if the women's game can just find a few more players who are going to play at this high level, I'm sure the game will get better from a women's standpoint as well. Just wanted to highlight one controversy apart from the Djokovic incident. There was a big outcry about how the differently abled players, that's the wheelchair tennis players, there's this massive pay disparity between them and the regular players as well. And that's been a concern raised. Of course, we know that male and female tennis players are now almost at parity in terms of pay. So what's your take on that, guys? I mean, of course, it's not for us to decide, but do you think it will happen?
See, my idea about equal pay is very simple. Irrespective of gender, if you bring in that sort of money, you earn that sort of money. If you don't bring in that sort of money, then after you ask for equal pay and whatever, fair play or what is, it doesn't make sense to me. If you and I are working in an organization, both make the organization £1 million, both should get a 10% cut, and fine, fair enough. Now, if you're making 500,000 and I'm making 1 million and you're sitting and crying about getting equal pay because you're also doing the same job and have the same academic degree, you're putting in the same hours, it's not fair. So I have a very clear take on it, but I'm sure the federation would come up with something.
I mean, Malu has never been wrong about this take, right? you can't. I mean, where are the organizer going to generate the money from to pay someone equally? Now the keyword being equally, right? Yeah, if you're not drawing in equal amounts of revenue for them, they will not be paying you equally, which is what kind of happens, yeah, across most sports. But yes, something to ensure that it's still equitable. Um, Maybe I don't know how it works out. If I were to suggest something like, in the same proportion as the revenue you draw, you never know. Maybe uh, one side draws fewer viewership or lesser viewership than the amount they're already getting now. So that's a very different conversation. But yes, I hope that everyone's demands, so to speak, are at least heard of and considered going on.
Yeah, it's a tough one. Honestly, when I think about it, it's like I understand their point of view, where the athletes come from as well. It's not their fault that they can't draw that viewership, if you know what I mean. It's just less glamorous to a lot of people, right?
But Mazhar, tell me one thing. And out here, I'm not talking about like the disabled tennis or the wheelchair tennis. I don't even want to comment on it because I do not exactly know that sport or know the rules of the sport, and that is a very even touchy topic to get into. So I don't want to get into stuff like that. But just talking about male tennis and female tennis. Now, just think from an athlete point of view. If either side of the tennis players is asking for equal, what is the justification? Like, there needs to be a justification, no? If you're asking for money, which you're discussing finances, your justification needs to be finance driven. How can you say we're putting in the same hours or whatever, What do you think is their point of view?
No, so I mean, I think it's simple. It's not about the point. It's not about the hours. Their take, and what I've read, at least from whichever elite athlete spoke about it from the female side, they are saying that we would play 5 sets if you told us to. You don't. Now the rules have come about since the olden days. So the 3 sets rule applies, but they had no problems in playing 5-set rules. So they were saying that it's not that the court is not filled up for the females final. It's not that the courts aren't filled. Like, center court is always filled for pretty much any top female tennis player. So in terms of that, there's no difference. Maybe on a global scale viewership, yes, I'm sure there will be some disparity. But when you talk about the hardcore fans of tennis, which are a lot, even on a global case, they will sit and watch it. So what they are saying is, like, in terms of viewership and all of that, there's not much of difference. And even if there is, it's only because you have the Federer, Nadal, Djokovic. The times you remove them, then it's pretty much equal. Like, you probably won't even see that disparity. So their point is just that you can't tell us that you are paying us less because we play 3 sets, because they didn't make the rules.
Just to put an example out there, someone, one of my close friends has mentioned this to me. Like, anytime you're trying to analyze the situation normalcy, put an outlier over there. Okay, so just imagine Ash Barty playing Simona Halep, okay, in a first round, versus the 200 seed versus, and again playing as the 199 seed in the men's circuit. Which one would you choose? And yet Ash Barty and Simona Halep would make fewer money or lesser money as compared to the guys on the men's circuit, just because the first round pay is more. And okay, maybe the slams have equalized it, but there are, I think there are only 4 slams as opposed to 30 ATP events a year.
Exactly. I completely understand from a business standpoint, but I also understand the flip side of the female tennis players making the argument, because like I already said, they claim that they didn't make the rules, which they didn't do. So they are, and obviously the argument was saying that they play 5 sets, so it's longer hours, people pay more to watch them, and this and all that stuff. So anyway, that's there'll never be a right or wrong answer to this. We can just live with it. And anyway, none of this money is coming into our pockets. In fact, it's going from our pockets. So that's a different thing. Okay, just to now, finally end this podcast, guys. French Open will be coming very soon. Just a quick prediction for the men's and women's, just singles. Let's do that, because we don't know what the doubles pairings will ever be, right? So do you see Rafa winning a 14th? Now, given that he'll have a jump in his step, he's looking fit also, no injuries, touch wood. Do you think it's going to be Rafa making it 14 and 22? Or do you see someone else? And who do you think will lift the women's French Open title?
I think for men's, I think it's going to be Djokovic.
I mean,
think-
it's iffy now if he'll be allowed to play, because there's a lot of controversy.
Of course.
There's a lot of controversy. He might not even be allowed to play the ATP tournaments now in places.
Yeah,
Cincinnati's also said no.
Subject to
Apparently.
Djokovic actually playing, I think Djokovic would, for me, be my favorite to win the French Open. Only because keeping Nadal is okay. He's performed exceptionally well in the Australian Open. He came back from a bad ankle injury or something like that, but he's won it. But let's face it, if it was Nadal Djokovic, I would have still favored Djokovic in the Australian Open. And I think the French Open also, I think it's going to be Djokovic. If he's not playing, then yeah, it's Nadal. Women's tennis, I don't know too much about women's tennis, so that I leave to Gui and you.
Okay, again, the caveat is that Djokovic does end up playing, right? Then he is the obvious choice. But I don't mind putting my money on Dominic Thiem when it comes to the French Open, just because it's going to be an odd bet. Okay, but I think he is a very strong contender on clay. He's got the goods. He's got the big serve and the single-handed backhand down the line, which is absolutely amazing to watch. Just by the way, it's one of the most glorious-looking shots. It's Federer glorified it, and this guy has a very good one in his locker. I've not really liked anyone else's single-handed backhand. There are a lot of players who played it, but this one is top-notch, and the down-the-line one is just great. I'm saying it again and again because he has one critical points on it. It's not like an off or wayward shot for him. It's one of his go-to. And in the women's draw, I would love to see Ash Barty get on a roll. Just because it's splendid, and maybe Iga Swiatek can reclaim her title, but Ash Barty is different gravy, although might not be the case on clay. What do you think, Naz?
I think the French Open, I think it's important to highlight that Medvedev is proving to be an all-surface specialist. So it's going to be interesting to see if I think he'll have a spring in his step. But then again, Tsitsipas has also been good. But I think Tsitsipas has peaked for me. Like, I think it's like, I don't think he can go beyond the level he's at. He'll need a lot to go his way to succeed in the French Open. So I wouldn't bet. Thiem's a good shout, honestly. But I'm interested. I'm going to go with Rafa. I'm a Rafa guy. I've got to go with him. No matter what people say, he performs when everyone doubts him as well. So Rafa for me.
One reason why I didn't even mention Medvedev in the conversation, because although he was exceptionally good on the Australian Open, but for a guy to be 2 sets up and then to lose, according to me, shows one thing is mental toughness, which when it comes to Djokovic, so he's another level only. But Nadal is also a very, very mentally tough guy. So I think that's somewhere which Medvedev perhaps lacks. And maybe that is the clutch thing that he still needs. That's the reason I think maybe he might fall short. But yeah, Djokovic or Nadal.
Fair enough. And for me, women's, I think Swiatek, Barty, you're right. Those were my 2 shouts as well. I've been disappointed by how underwhelming Osaka has been recently. Probably still a mental game for her, because she still got it physically. So if she can just overcome those ghosts mentally, I think it'll be a very, very interesting 3-way battle. So thanks, Gui. Thanks, Shubham. Always a pleasure. And to all those who tuned in, thank you very much. Share your thoughts on what were your surprises at the Australian Open, and who are you looking forward to leading into May's French Open as well. Till then, take care, stay safe, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
If you like this episode, make sure to leave a like and share it with anyone else who might be interested. You can also subscribe on any social media platform that you prefer, and all our links are in the bio. We also have a website with all our episodes as well as blogs and a whole lot of other sports content, so make sure to check that out as well.